The following is proudly brought to you by Hollywoodbets. Register to win.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Prajeri and Brian Baloyi, thank you so much for taking your time to sit with me, Ayanda Vezi, and to talk about the biggest game in the country, in the continent, the Soweto Derby. Obviously, you two guys have shared the field together. Legs of Thunder, he once scored a hat-trick against the Baloyi in the Bob Save Cup. What separates the Soweto Derby from any other derby that we have, like, in the country?
I think obviously it's the history of where the clubs come from. Obviously, Kaizer Chiefs coming from Pirates, and when it started. So I think the rivalry started from there, and obviously now the post clubs coming from Soweto. Even when there's the Swallows Pirates derby, but then this one became bigger because of the rivalry and the origination of Kaizer Chiefs coming from Pirates, obviously. And so I think before everything else, I think that's what makes it special and make it what made it to be what it is today.
Prajeri, I've mentioned before, Uti, you're the only player to score a hat-trick in a Soweto Derby. How does it feel like being a hero in such a match and scoring 3 goals? No one has ever done that in a Soweto Derby.
Well, it's something, to me, it's just so strange, because when you play football, before you consider the Soweto Derby, you are a striker, you want to score goals for your team to win. So to me, it wasn't something that was unique, honestly speaking. But yes, because of the importance of the Soweto Derby, I just had some other memories where I was playing with Bank Aces and a Giant Blackpool, scoring important goals, But when you talk about the Soweto Derby, and now they just go to the history of that, and then they say I'm the only player to score a hat-trick. It's something that, yes, it is so important, but to me, it was something that was in the field, performing on the day, not something that I wanted it wholeheartedly. It was just to win the game, and I was lucky I scored 3 goals.
And looking at both teams, they've recently promoted our young stars, like from their Diski team. How does it feel like for a young player to be in a Soweto Derby, the pressure that comes with the derby as a young player? Because I think there's so much pressure there because the stadium is fully packed. The pressure as a Soweto Derby, especially to young players.
To be honest, I'll tell you, I think players that come from Chiefs juniors or Pirates juniors, they are able to deal with the pressure of playing for the clubs more than the players that the clubs would buy from, that have already been buying from other clubs. So if you check, most of the time, most of the youngsters that are the ones that are coming up from the developments, they are able to deal with the pressure. So I think my concern has always been the type of players that the clubs bring from outside, the club structures to the clubs. Particularly with Chiefs, for me, my worry has always been that are they really scouting the right talent? And for Chiefs and Pirates, when you're scouting the right talent, it's not just about the technical part. It's a whole package. So when you're scouting for players, you scout players that they have the total package, that are technically gifted and that can deal with that can deal with the pressure of playing for the club, so all of those. And for me, I think that's where Chiefs has been failing over the years. That you get a player from Stellenbosch, good player, but is good enough to play for Chiefs, and they get here, they freeze. You get players from Congo, Burundi, they come here, can they really take the pressure of playing for Chiefs? They freeze. So that's where they need to pay attention and when getting players, because playing for Chiefs or Pirates, it's bigger than just it's having to deal with the pressure.
Brian Kuluma about scouting our players. Looking at this Orlando Pirates team and squad that they have, which players that you can say maybe they remind you some of the players that you've played with Orlando Pirates back in the days?
I mean, truly, I can't single out any player, honestly speaking, because if from the start, if you look at the goalkeeping department, I had a consistent goalkeeper who was always there, almost 3/4 of the games I played for Pirates, which was William Okpara, And now you look at how many goalkeepers Pirates are changing in a season. There is no consistency in goalkeeping. That's the first part of it. The second part, if you go to the history, the people that I played with, I will tell you the defense that was just so solid and consistent. On the left, we had Eddie Mutale. On the right, we had Pirito Tetsi. Center defense, we had Gavin Lane and Mark Fish. You go into the middle of the field, you're going to have the late John Dungi Moeti, Innocent Mwango. I think a little bit of the late Clifford Moleko. And then you go up front, you would see a speedy winger, Midnight Express in Helman Mkelele on the left. And then it will be Brendan Silent Stepezane on the right. And then you'll find Jerry up front. So you want to talk about the people that were so consistent, But now the derby is gonna come. Us, as we seated here, I remember the year was 1997. We were going to play Zambia. In Zambia, we were roommates. Instead of journalists talking about the game to Zambia, which was like this coming weekend, they put us together and started talking about the derby that was coming the next weekend. So it's what we were promoting with the derby, because they would say Spider Baloyi versus Legs of Thunder. And these people will be there, day of the derby. But now, if you want to talk about a player, you don't know if that player will feature in the derby or not. So that's where the problem is. There is no consistency in the current players, because if the derby is coming now, you can't say, I don't even know who's the goalkeeper at Pirates or Chiefs that is going to come. I don't know who's going to be the striker that is going to be coming. I don't know in the middle of the park who's going to be who versus who, because you want to hype the derby. The derby gets so important because in the olden days, they would tell you like Kaizer Chiefs, the late Ace Nsweleng, Orlando Pirates, Jomo Sono. They want to talk about Teenage Dada, that's Kaizer Chiefs. They want to talk about Hill Extension Mukari, that's Orlando Pirates. So now who are we talking about? Give me a name that we're going to take and put in the derby. It's so difficult. That's why the derby is just declining in terms of the importance of it, because we don't have the consistency in terms of players that will go there and make sure their names stay with the derby to up the tempo and bring supporters. Because if Jerry wasn't there, I don't think the stadium would be full. If Brian wasn't there, I don't think the stadium would be full, because people wanted to see the rivalry of the players that were in that team, of which it was the derby. So I think that's where the problem is of late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even talking of goalkeepers, even in those days, I mean, when you went to Pirates, you had the great Petson Banda.
Yes.
Chiefs, you had the great Ben Sikhosana.
Yes.
You know, so with both clubs, there's always been consistency in those departments. Whereas today, like he says, lack of consistency as well, you know, is the one that is really the biggest problem with the two clubs.
The chopping and changing of the players in terms of featuring in the derby. That's the problem because supporters always ask questions in that.
Which brings me to my next question. Like, Soweto Derby, ibukeka sengathi irrelevant because of maybe Sundowns what they are doing. Because it seems like abantu they're more interested in Pirates playing against the Mamelodi Sundowns, and with what has been happening with Kaizer Chiefs at the moment, changing our coaches. Do you think this has to do with Mamelodi Sundowns on how they're doing because they're dominating the PSL? Do you think maybe that also has an impact to Soweto Derby? We see now the players being not consistent.
No, Sundowns will never have any impact on both the clubs or the derby. It's what Chiefs and Pirates are not doing that is affecting the derby. It's not what Sundowns is doing. It's what the two clubs are not doing that is affecting the derby. Yeah.
So maybe where these two clubs can improve, maybe to like bring back the vibe of Soweto Derby, because
and
now
the vibe. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad the clubs play. When the derby comes, the stadium is going to be full. That is a given. But whereas in our time, it was not only about the stadium. The stadium would be full. You go into the townships, the villages, the whole week people will be talking about the derby. Today, there's lots of things obviously that compete with football. But we still believe that, for me, I think the clubs are not doing enough to really to get people to be talking about the derby. And the biggest one that Jerry has mentioned is you struggle to identify brands within the clubs. As players that develop to be brands are the ones that sell the clubs. You can go into Chiefs and Pirates. You can go to the Dr. Kumalos. You can go into Pirates. The times of Steve Lekulea, Tsovilagas, the Leslie Manyatelas. Go to Chiefs with Tsiki. So today you struggle. Even the print media I don't know if they don't know even how to hype the clubs or hype the derby, or even that they struggle to find brands. That's why you find to a large extent that we're still holding on to trying to hype the Chiefs. I mean, within Chiefs, with all due respect, out of the players, the squad that is there, Kune is the only brand that is left. But again, it's not active, it's not playing. And exactly like Jerry said, when you sell the derby, when you are hyping it, you hype it based on the players that are going to play. But right now, inconsistency and lack of brands to sell.
I think maybe to add in what Ryan is saying, which is so important of late, you look at the history of the football players I think immediately after our era, there was a little bit of media print in terms of giving nicknames. If you go back, they will tell you about a teenage Dladla. You know, he's got a nickname. He had a nickname. It wasn't just teenage Dladla. You go to Jomo Sono, he had a nickname. It wasn't just Jomo Sono. You go to a lot of players, you know, and it continued to our generation, because if you say Legs of Thunder, you know who's Legs of Thunder is Sikhosana. If you say, no, my goalkeeper is Spider, you know who Spider is, it's Brian Baloyi. And the media print in terms of putting a vibe into the games, it's no longer happening. You look at all the players that are playing now, I don't even remember or know of any nickname, because he just mentioned Tsiki Tsiki. When he says Tsiki Tsiki, you know it's Thabo Moki.
Yeah.
You know that used to be the way football was in South Africa, but it has changed. It has changed where the media print is no longer giving that hype and something spectators can go and try and have a look. When you say Midnight Express, he's going to run. Helman Mkelele.
While he's talking, I'm even now laughing, thinking of to a point where if a player is good, you end up even a coach giving a player a nickname.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, So Vilagazi, people was told, everyone knew him as told, but he was so good that when we played against him, Doleza gave him a nickname, called him Little Napoleon.
Yeah.
You know, so my point is that, you know, when a player is good, to a point where even a coach would give him a nickname. You know, but today, like we say, for me, I think the clubs needs to do a little bit more, really, to build brands. I think the clubs now, maybe that we all just focusing on, okay, the players they must play, they must and brands. And unfortunately, brands, if you look at Man U, you look at Barcelona, Real Madrid, brands, they don't just happen by themselves. It's not just an accident that it happens. When you have a player that is good, or that you feel that this has talent and the potential, then you start putting resources behind promoting them as a brand. You look at Barcelona, you look at with Lamine Yamal. You look at we can give you a whole lot of examples. But clubs need to do a little bit more.
Kaizer Chiefs, they got Mfundo Vilakazi, who's a youngster who's promising. Orlando Pirates, they got Mufukeng, who's also like promising. He's been playing like, I can guarantee you that 80% chances of him being in the starting lineup, you can see him in the starting lineup. So does these teams, they need to invest in these youngsters, because everyone is like talking about them like now and again, especially that now Mfundo Vilakazi has been promoted to the senior team.
I think the difference is the contribution of that player. You know, you don't look just for an individual that is coming from the development. Yes, it is something good for the club to say we're investing in the development structure, and this is what we're benefiting in terms of promoting the players. But if you look at the era before, Tsiki Tsiki, I think it came from the development. If I'm not mistaken, Brian, the late Thabang Lebisi, he came from the development. The late Shakes Kongwane, he came from development. Nsiye Mapike, he came from the development. Now we go to the Orlando Pirates team. So Vilagaz, the little Napoleon, came from the development. The late Leslie Manyatela came from the development. Pumuzo, Manenze came from the development. These are the players that made an impact into the structures of the team from the development. But now we're talking about Mfundo Vilakazi, the team is struggling. The boy is going to be under pressure. Yes, maybe a little bit of Mofukeng because he even scored a goal in the last game, which was the Nedbank Cup with the Minos in Mpumalanga, Mbombela Stadium. You know, he's the one that is a little bit coming, but he's not somebody that is there taking all the burden of Orlando Pirates to himself. He's still a youngster, but the ones that I've mentioned in both clubs that came from the structures made a big difference. And this is what we're looking for, which is something that is not happening of now. Yes, they will be talking about them in the derby, but are they going to be, is it going to be in the derby, Vilakazi versus Mofukeng from the media, just for people to go and look at these boys? You don't know if they will be in the starting lineup or not. You know, that's what we're trying to put together to say currently there must be something which needs to be done, as Brian is saying. They need to have the brands that will promote the derby. You know, we don't have to guess and have question marks. We need people that, you know, Dr. Khumalo will always be in a derby starting. There is no doubt about it. You know, the late John Mueti will always be in a derby starting. This is what we need. We don't need a little bit of percent. We're guessing. I think that will hype the game, not only the derby, but also the DSTV Premiership as a whole, to have players that their names would be there. I look at Andres Sibula, you know, before he gets to Pirates, with Real Rovers, he already had a name. Tapelo Leao, you know, so this is what we're looking. Also players coming from other clubs, they need to have names so that there must be continuity in their performances in the DSTV Premiership.
Kaizer Chiefs is going into this game as underdogs, given they've been knocked out in the Nedbank Cup and they drew against the Royal AM. And like their strikers, they tend to miss like clear-cut chances. Does this mean Kaizer Chiefs, because in the recent years, team we Soweto Derby as underdogs, it turns out on the day performer and wins the game. Does this gives Kaizer Chiefs an upper hand to go and perform on the day?
For me, I think, like I said, I think in the last 2-3 years, the derby has been very unpredictable, and there's a lot of things that would contribute to that. But right now, yes and no. That, you know, the underdog tag would be an advantage to the other. The only advantage they'll have is that, you know, on the players is that they are under pressure, but not as much under pressure as that, you know, being, you know, favorites. But I tell you, the Chiefs is more under pressure right now, and whether they go into the game as underdogs or not, I think for me, the players at Chiefs, any of them that are there right now, they should be playing for their lives, because end of the season, you know, new coach must come in, new players must come in, and derby is one opportunity or that makes or breaks players. This is an opportunity for them, not only to make a name for themselves, but to salvage the little pride left that us supporters can have. You know, especially in the last week, you know, if you go on socials, anywhere, if you talk to friends, Chiefs has been a laughing stock. You know, if you see the things that people are saying, so the players must know that the only and there's no other game. Even if they would go on and finish second in the league or finish where, you know, and start winning other games, they lose the derby. It means nothing. So they must make sure that, you know, they win the derby and perform. That's the only way that you're going to be able to secure your stay at Chiefs for the coming season and for the coming coaches.
And maybe just to add on Brian what he's saying, you know, there is something that is so hateful on the social media. You know, looking at Chiefs supporters tearing the club jersey in scissors, you know, tearing them apart. I think that's not good for football, especially in South Africa. Yes, it might be Kaizer Chiefs, but players, if they see that, they would know that they are hating people who love the club, who love to be in that team. So when somebody starts tearing the jersey, it's something that has never happened in our era and even before, you know. So as a player, it needs to hurt you from the inside, because if you're going to be paid by the club, it's because of the supporters that are coming into the ground, into the matches to come and watch you and obviously pay, you know. So if you're stopping those people through the social media where you see them, you know, they don't want to be Chiefs and stuff, where are you going to get your salary? This is what players need to have in their minds of late, because it's not just about them playing or signing for Chiefs or Pirates, and then you just take a back seat and relax, you know, and say, no, I'm in a honey land. You know, the people that are bringing that honey would be hurt and they won't come to the games, and it's going to be a problem to players. So that's one thing that they also need to look at.
Is it maybe they get too comfortable, maybe because of how they do things? Maybe after training, the player just goes into his house and maybe they don't put extra work. Is it that maybe the effect why Kaizer Chiefs is like they performing like this?
Whether you do extra work or not, extra work is not going to win you matches. So there's lots of things that contributing to, you know, them not winning. But at the core of it, I've said this many times in the last 2 years, and at times people thought, even the club will say I'm criticizing too much. But for me, I'm saying, if you're criticizing, you criticize because you love the club.
Yeah.
And if you sugarcoat things, then it's not going to help. The fact of the matter is, most of the players that are there, they're not Chiefs material. If they are, then they must prove me wrong. They must prove everyone else wrong, that things that they are not, you know, up to the level. And they can only do that by performing on the field. And to be able to do that week in, week out, Chiefs, it's not your talent, the mentality. And it's whether you can take the pressure of when you're going on the field. If you lose, like they've lost now, bouncing back. Yeah, so all of that. And unfortunately, I don't see characters in the team that are able to, and I don't see even a few that have that big temperament. They have to be able to soak up the pressure and help the ones that can't take the pressure. And so you find, for me, I find that maybe there's too many individuals in the club instead of
in the
team.
team.
So each
Yeah.
and everyone is looking at, I just want to be okay. I just want to play. Even if we lose, and they talk about me that we've lost, but so and so did well, then I'm happy. But the club lost. So there's too much individualism there, and doesn't matter how good a coach you get. Doesn't again? It's I don't want to go into the technical and the coaching, but for me, what I see there is that there's no. People think they say there's no desire to wanting to win. No, it's not. There's no. It's there's for me it's the desire, or for me it's people that don't really understand what it means to play for Chiefs. People that don't understand, or that can't, don't understand the position they are in. And sometimes you get people that are like, if I go, it's okay, I go. But you'll realize 10 years later when you're thinking, maybe I will go back. But sometimes you only get one chance. And when you realize that you've played for one of the biggest clubs in the country, but you didn't contribute, and you will find reasons and excuses that why you didn't perform. So yeah.
So where do you see Kaizer Chiefs finishing this season? Maybe top 8 spots, or maybe they won't be in the top 8, looking at the way they're performing.
Unless something changes. But right now, they'll be lucky to finish in the top 8. All the other clubs are performing. Most of the clubs right now, this is the time in the season where people are now looking at securing the status. So every game is important. Every club now, they pull up they roll up their sleeves, pull up their socks. So it's not going to be easy. And unless the club gets, I don't know what you need to do with these players and to really get them to start. It's a mindset thing more than anything.
Yeah.
And it's not a effort, whether they're putting enough effort or they have the talent. It's a mindset thing. And sometimes, or maybe people that they're working with, they're too familiar with them. They need someone maybe from outside right now, whether it's a motivational speaker or whatever, or that will come and just show them the other side of what they're doing about their careers and get. Yeah, but I really don't know what can change between now and the end of the season. But it's going to be a very difficult season for Chiefs, I tell you.
Brian, Orlando Pirates is coming into this game Panama breaking rights because they defeated Kaizer Chiefs in the first round. Your prediction going into this game?
Well, really, you're talking about the derby here, and I heard Brian talking about Chiefs being under pressure now, But if I go back, I think there was a time where we were also under pressure, because I remember one time we had players who were red carded. I was one of them, and then we lost to Real Rovers in Mahwelereng because 3 of those players were not playing. I was part of that 3. And on a Wednesday, Chiefs was playing Real Rovers. Real Rovers beat us 3-0 in Polokwane. And on a Wednesday, they were coming to Rand Stadium to play Chiefs. Chiefs beat them 5-0. And we were only going to PE to play Macau Warriors by then. We managed to come back, the three of us. We beat Macau Warriors 3-0, but nobody spoke about that game. Everybody was talking about us losing to Polokwane City 3-0 and Chiefs beating Polokwane City 5-0 at the Rand Stadium, and we were going to play the derby on the weekend. So people were talking about Pirates losing 8 because they lost 3 to Polokwane City, who lost 8 to Kaizer Chiefs. So those moments sometimes give the upper hand to the team that is regarded as the underdogs in the derby. So also for me, Chiefs might be under pressure, but anything can happen in a derby because the same Chiefs might give it their all, because derby games are unpredictable, as Brian was saying. So for me, yes, Pirates have got the upper hand. Chiefs have got those problems, especially after drawing with the Royal AM in Maritzburg and then losing to Milford from KZN as well, and Pirates, winning their games. But in a derby, you don't just sit back and relax and think you've got the upper hand for Pirates. They still have to dig deep if they want to beat Chiefs, because anything can happen. So let's hope maybe the current form will guide Pirates, but I know Chiefs, they will come and make sure that they are fighting in the derby. So it's going to be a closely contested derby that is going to come. Pirates might have the edge, but I can see a draw coming up again.
But Jerry, let's just quickly recap now. Chiefs. How many players from Chiefs were at the Nations Cup? Just Dove.
None.
Just Dove.
Mozambique.
You look at the Congolese player. He will never be in that Congo team. So and then you look at our own players. We have a lot of promising players, young, and even most of them, others not young. But to be honest, is any of them good enough to be in that Bafana team based on their performances now? No. And we need to be honest about this, so that the players can be honest to themselves, that they need to perform and go to the next level if they want to bring back the glory days for Chiefs. And then that will just up their chances of being in the national team. Simple.
But what worries me in what Brian is saying, you look at the AFCON Pirates players. I think there were 4 players. It was Mahopa, Lipasa, Munare, CBC, isn't it? And then if you come back to the Pirates team, especially the one that played immediately after the AFCON and played the Nedbank, there was no CBC, there was no Munare, and there was no Lipasa. Only Mahopa. So that's a worrying factor as well. Because if you look years back, if Brian is with the national team, he's going to come back and do his duties for a club. If I was with the national team, I'm going to come back and do my duties for a club. But now you've got a national team player that comes from Orlando Pirates, but comes back home, not in the starting lineup. Monara came as a sub in 2 games. I think Lipasa, I don't know if he did play in those games. CBC never played, Ofori, the #1 goalkeeper for Ghana. Where is he?
He's sitting on the bench.
It's a little bit controversial in terms of players, because club level is the one that takes it to the upper one, which is the national team. But if you are in the national team, but you're not at club level in terms of consistency, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for your time, and let's hope both teams will give us an exciting game. I can't wait to see the game. Your words, your last words in closing.
I just want to close and say, if maybe there are any Hollywoodbets punters who won the tickets to go to the Soweto Derby, let's hope you will be part of that. Because the last time I wasn't there, and then I was worried as a brand ambassador of Hollywoodbets.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no, just good luck to both teams. Good luck to Chiefs. I hope Chiefs will win. But it's just a hope that we live in hope. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Sharp.
Hey, tough.